our opinion, then the state law governs.
Governor, got a question on Gateway Tunnel?
Yeah, let's just make sure. Anyone else?
Yeah, Governor. So the state has spent $40 million on
You have to be
rent
faster.
relief.
Hold on, let's do this again. Let's do it again. Just give me a second. Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh,
Governor.
there you go. Go ahead.
Speaking of individual communities, we've just seen that a few weeks ago there was a very secret Hasidic wedding where 7,000 to 10,000 people attended, completely maskless. And I'm just wondering your reaction to this. Will there be consequences? And what's to stop this from happening again over the holidays?
That, you know, if that happened, I heard the report. If that happened, it was a blatant disregard of the law. It's illegal. It was also disrespectful to the people of New York. The law protects everybody. It protects you, but it also protects me. We went through this with weddings. We literally stopped the wedding a couple of nights before, which was going to be a very large wedding. If it turns out that because we stopped that wedding, the reaction was, well, we'll have a secret wedding, that would be really shocking and totally, I think, deceitful of the conversations that I had, because I had personal conversations with members of the community. But put that aside, I've been deceived many times. It's illegal, and the city should do a robust investigation. If 7,000 people went to a wedding, you can figure that out, right? That's the problem with the secret 7,000. It's hard to keep a secret. You know, they say the only way to keep a secret? Tell no one. That's the only way to keep a secret. 7,000 people were there. It's going to be hard to keep that a secret. And the city, it's my information, the city is investigating. They should investigate. And if 7,000 people are at a wedding, I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out. And then there'll be, we'll bring the full consequence of legal action to bear.
So the state has spent $40 million on a rent relief program, and legislation was from the CARES Act, and legislation was written with the intention to spend the full $100 million in New York. I'm wondering if the state is going to alter the program in any way to get the rest of that $60 million out to renters, and are you considering widening any eviction protections now that cases are rising again?
That is such a specific question that I will bet you even Melissa doesn't know the answer. What do you want to bet? You want to bet for or against Melissa? I do not know the answer. What do you want to bet? What's the over-under on whether Melissa knows the answer?
I think that Melissa knows the answer.
Okay, you say Melissa knows the answer. Go ahead.
So the legislature set the parameters of that $100 million fund, and we've paid out $40 million, as you noted, that are based on those parameters. So those parameters were set in statute, and every applicant that has put in an application that have met those parameters, the money has gone out the door. We're not sitting on the money. We want the money to go out to people who need it most. We are going to reevaluate what the parameters are that the legislature put into law to see if there's anything we can do to get more money out to the people who need it. On the Safe Harbor Act, again, that was something that was passed in legislation, and that means that rent evictions cannot go forward during the pendency of the crisis. So if you have a COVID-related issue with being able to pay your rent during the pendency of the crisis, that stays in effect. The governor has continually extended the commercial rent eviction, and that's something we continue to monitor on an ongoing basis because we understand the plight of business owners.
And just on the rent relief, though, how could I understand the legislature set those parameters, which has resulted in $40 million being spent, but could you, as the governor, issue an executive order to alter it to get the money out, and would that happen in the next month or so? Is that possible?
It's something that we're looking at and we're consulting with the legislative leaders on, but no money will be returned to the federal government. We will spend all of that money.
Did you have a question? No? Okay.
Governor, the Gateway Tunnels, you tweeted the other day that you want the Gateway Commission to release the London Bridge Association or London Bridge Associates report on whether they can fix the current North Hudson tubes in place. Isn't that you just talking to yourself? Steve Cohen runs it. New Jersey doesn't even have appointees yet on the commission. Can't you just get Steve Cohen to release the report? And two, if that report does find that you can fix the tunnels in place like the L train, would that require a new EIS to be conducted, or at least the current one to be reformed, because that entire project is based on you can't fix the tunnels until you have the new ones?
I do take particular pleasure in hearing you endorse the now accepted L train repair methodology. Well, you speak about it now, the proven L train technology, the well-documented success story of the L train rehabilitation. I'm just kidding. Not really. Look, my only point is there's a question of rehabilitating these tunnels so they're safe. As you remember, I've gone through these tunnels. I took video of these tunnels. I sent the video to the president trying to encourage him because he owns them. Amtrak owns them. The president owns Amtrak. It's their tunnels. To repair the tunnels. These are the tunnels that go into the Hudson. And they have done nothing. We have a report that says they can be rehabilitated. I haven't seen the report. There's also a desire by Amtrak and many people to build new tunnels to have additional access to New York, which I think is a good idea. But one is not the enemy of the other. I don't control the Gateway Corporation. Steve Cohen is my appointee. But Amtrak and New Jersey are the other two partners. And I don't have absolute control. If I had absolute control, I would give you the report tomorrow. I don't have absolute control.
What does Steve Cohen say?
Steve Cohen says, I told Steve Cohen to release the report. He said fine. He said the other parties are not yet prepared to release the report.
That's it?
That's it. 2-1 wins in almost everything.
Well, New Jersey doesn't even have their appointees on the board.
Well, that doesn't mean New Jersey, just because you don't have an appointee, doesn't mean you give up your voice, right?
Usually doesn't.
No.
I have another
No,
transportation.
you call up the governor of New Jersey or the secretary to the governor of New Jersey or the transportation person, and you say to New Jersey, just because you don't have an appointee, I'm not going to be totally non-collegial and disrespectful.
I have another transportation question. The Port Authority released their doomsday budget for next year on Thursday. And they're cutting capital spending across the board, except work that's already underway, and the only other exception is the $2 billion air train. Given the crunch that the Port Authority is seeing, is it still prudent to move forward with this very expensive project?
The completing LaGuardia is essential, in my opinion, for New York City. It'll be the single greatest economic boost that has been done in generations. And with all this bad news surrounding us, and all these tales of possible catastrophe, to have the first airport that's opened in 25 years open in New York City is going to be a very big deal. And the air train is part of that. As far as the doomsday budget, if we don't get federal aid, everybody has a doomsday budget. Port Authority, MTA, New York City, New York State, and by the way, every state in the United States. That's why it's madness for them not to provide state and local funding. Madness. Happy Sunday.
You said you expected to be reached between New Yorkers within 6 months. That was the timeline you gave. Could you talk a bit about the coordination with the city on how that rollout is going to look?
Yeah, the state is coordinating with all the local governments, but I said 6 months. I bet, my wager, my best estimate, 6 months at a minimum before you hit critical mass. Healthcare employees will get it, senior citizens will get it, people with immune compromise will get it, but critical mass to where it starts to have an impact on community spread, I'll bet you it's at least 6 months. Think of it this way. We did 12 million COVID tests to date over 8 months. moving heaven and earth. Every hospital, every clinic, everyone we knew. 12 million COVID tests over 8 months. Antigen test, very fast. We have to do 20 million vaccinations. It took you 8 months to do 12 million COVID tests. How long does it take you to do 20 million vaccinations? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.